Okay, so for the shell square, you are not going to be turning it over. So for this one, you are working all with the front side facing, and you're working in a spiral for quite a bit of it. Eventually you do go into the circle, but you start off where you work in a spiral. So although we say rounds, that's not strictly true. You are working in a round, but you're working in a spiral rather than joining a round to start with. So for this one, we start with the mustard, and you do a little slip knot to get your yarn onto your hook, and you do start with a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you slip stitch by popping the hook into the one furthest from it and then bringing it through both. So you've got this tiny weeny little circle here, and then you do a chain of 2 and 7 half trebles. So that's into this circle, so we're into this loop here. So that's a wrap, and in, grab the yarn, bring it back through. So you've got 3 on, wrap and bring it through all 3 at once. That's your half trebles. So we're going to do 7 in total of those. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we include the 2 chain at the beginning into the count for this, so we have actually 8 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and just you don't actually slip stitch on this one, which is where I was starting to talk about the spirals rather than the rows. Now on the next one, we are going to be working some more half trebles, but as we mentioned on one of the other videos, half trebles have 3 loops at the back. So we've got 2 loops at the front here, and then there's this 3rd loop here, and for most of the stitches we want to be working into this 3rd loop. But first of all, we have to get started on that one. So for the next round, and just for ease, I've got some stitch markers. I'm just going to pop that one in there just as an indication, because it's quite easy to lose where you are. So that was the last stitch I've worked. I'm going to do 2 half trebles into the chain of 2 here. So I'm going to do it into the top one, which is that one. So that's 1, 2 half trebles there, and then we're going to do 2 half trebles but into the back loop only of the next 7 stitches. So that starts here. So I'm not working under there, just take that off for a second. I'm not working sort of under here or under here. I'm actually looking at these stitches here at the back of them. So I'm going to try and pick that one up first. The first one is always a little bit fiddly, but we're going to do 7 sets. So there we go, I'm in the back bit there. 1, so that's 1 pair. Then work into the next pair. 2, 3. So I'm counting each pair as one set of stitches. 4, 5, and I'm back at the first set, so I'm going into the back there, and that's the 7. So along with the 2 original ones that I had, which were here, 2 there, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Just take this out now. I'll take that out and pop it in there so I can show you more easily. So you do first set of 2 trebles there, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So that takes you to where you are on round 2. I'm going to pop that back in. But as we're still working in the mustard, I'm going to run this straight into round 3, and then we'll just pause for a second. So I just want to indicate where this stitch is, so I'm going to pop that stitch marker just in the back there. So for what we class as round 3, but as we said, we're working into a spiral, we're now working in trebles. So we're going to work 2 trebles into the back loop only of the next 9 stitches. So starting off in the same way. So I'm doing a pair, so I'm doing these in 2s. So that's 1 set of trebles, and we're going to do this 9 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can really then see how the spiral's starting to work up. Then we're going to work 2 double trebles into the back loop only of the next 5 stitches. So that's a double wrap in, grab your yarn, bring it back through, round and through 2, round and through 2, round and through 2. So again, we're working these in pairs. So that's 1. Oops, lost a loop. 2, 3, 4, 5. And actually at that point, I'm just going to take that one back a little, just to there, because we're actually going to join a new colour in at this point. So I'm just going to pause for a minute, let you catch up, and then we'll start again. Okay. Okay, so we are rejoining partway through round 3 at this point. So I am now changing the yarn colour. So we've finished with 2 double trebles in the back loop of that stitch. There's 5 sets of those, and we're now joining in on the very last part of the very last stitch, and it tells you to change colour. So it's fighting with me. I'm going to pull that through there. What you get by doing that is a sort of a seamless join. You don't end up with a strange little step in the middle of your work, and it makes the ends very easy to sew in. So it's a really great way of changing colour when you're part way round a row. Okay, we are now going to continue with 2 double trebles in the back of the loop of the next stitch. So if you remember, I popped this in. I'm going to actually take that out now because I don't need it. So 1, 2. So that's 1. That's 2. Just pull that a bit tighter. Okay, and then we're going to do 1 treble into the back loop only of the final stitch. And this is where it sort of changes a little bit. So there are no more half treble stitches from around this point. So now we're going to start working a standard back loop only, whereas we're going to this section. So rather than going in under there, we're going into here, into this bit. And round 4 is actually only half a round when we do this next bit. And it completes the circle. So it's a little bit tricky and we're going to take it quite slowly. So we're going to do 1 treble into the back loop only of the next stitch. And then we're going to do 2 trebles into the back loop only of the next stitch. So that's 1 and 2. Then we've got a treble into the back loop only of the next stitch, and then a half treble into this back loop. So that's the half treble. Okay, we've got now 2 half trebles into the back loop only of the next stitch. So that's 1, 2, and 1 half treble into the next 2 stitches, and that's the back of loop only again. So all these are into the back loop only. Then 2 double crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the back loop of the next 2, and then 2 double crochet into the back loop of the next one. And then we're going to repeat that. So that's 1 double crochet in the back loop only of the next 2 stitches, and then 2. Okay. At this point we're going to then slip stitch to here, and that actually completes the circle. So although it looks a little bit lopsided at the moment, that's actually the colour that's causing you to think that, and we've now got a circle. So I'm just going to pause there for a second, then we will come back with round 5 for you, and this is where we start to go back into true rounds rather than a spiral. Right, so this is where we stopped at the end of round 4. We're now going to start round 5, and now we are working complete rounds, and we're going to be slip stitching to join the circle. So at this point we're going to chain 3 as we would at the start of a lot of either rounds or rows, then 1 treble in the back loop only of the next stitch. Okay, 2 treble in the back loop only of the next stitch, okay, and then 1 treble in the back loop only of the next 2 stitches, and 2 treble into the back loop only of the next stitch. So don't worry if it pulls a bit, that is part of what happens on this particular one. Now we're going to do that 4 times, so that's 1. So we've got 2 trebles both into individual stitches there, and then 2 into 1. So I'm going to do another 3 sets like that. So that's 1 treble on its own, another treble on its own, 2 trebles into the same, then again 1 treble on its own, and again, and then 2. 1 treble, 1 treble, and 2. So at this point, don't worry, you can pull some of these things a little bit tighter when you've finished. So we should have actually 5 sets if we include this first bit here. That's 1, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 there. So I've got the 5 in total. Right, we're now going to crochet into the stitches as normal, which means rather than going into the back loop only, we're going under like that. So we're going into this. I call it a love heart. Some people call it a C shape. It's sort of doesn't really matter what you call it, but this is what we're going to be doing. So we're now going to complete the round by working 1 treble into the next stitch, 1 treble into the next stitch, and then 2 trebles into the next stitch. So we're working that combination again, but this time under both loops. So that's 1 stitch, 1 stitch, and 2 stitches, and 1, oops, 1 and 2, and then again all the way across. So I'm just going to pause it there, get to the end of the round, and then show you what to do next. Okay, so this is how it looks at the end of round 5. So you've now got this circle going and what looks like an ammonite in the middle, which is rather lovely. And the next colour we're joining in is the sand, and we're going to do a ring of sand around it. So you join into any stitch, so that's under here like this. You should have 48 stitches, by the way, on the row below, and that is sort of quite important for the next stage. So just make sure that you've got 48 stitches before you start. So we're going to pull that through to join it into one of the stitches, and then I'm doing 2 chains. That's 1, 2, and that counts as a stitch. That counts as a half treble. We're now going to do a half treble into 1 into each of the next 2 stitches. So that's 1, 2. So we've got the equivalent of 3 stitches there. Oh, that wasn't a half treble, beg your pardon, I've just worked a treble. There we go. So 3 half trebles. Then we're going to work 2 half trebles into the next stitch. So the whole of this round is going fully into the top of a stitch. Now we're going to get quite repetitive now, so we're going to do 1 half treble into each of the next 3 stitches, like so, and then we're going to do 2 half trebles into the next 2 stitches, and then we're going to repeat that. So all the way around here we've got the combination of 3 individual half trebles, 1 into each of the next 3 stitches, and then 2 half trebles into that 4th stitch. So you need to complete that all the way around. So we've got 3 individuals and a pair, and 3 individuals and a pair, and we're going to work all the way around and join with a slip stitch to here. So as that's nice and easy, I'll let you crack on with that, and we'll join you in a moment. Okay, so this is how you finish with round 6. And on this one, so you've got your combinations where you've got 3 of your half trebles and then a pair, and then another 3 and a pair, and that goes all the way round, and you finish with a slip stitch to join. I would say sew your ends in, because it's just easier to work if you sew your ends in as you go along. We're now going to join for round 7, and we're using Sax as the colour for this one. Again, with this, you're wanting to have a slightly raised effect, so we're not using either of these 2 loops. Because we did the half treble in the back, we're going to use the loop that's in the back of the stitch. So you can see there's quite a raised line there, and we're going into that back one. And they're not as easy to see, but in a way they're not that difficult to find either. So hopefully you'll be okay with that. So, one of the things here that I must point out is she's very much specified that you want to go work the first stitch of this into the middle of these 3. So where you've got 3 half trebles and then a pair, we're looking for a set of 3, we're finding the middle one, and we're going to work into the back of the middle one. Okay, so she's quite specific about that, and it does work nicely if you use that stitch. So we're going to bring that through, do a chain, and then do another chain. And again, we're working with half trebles on this row, so that's 2 chains into that central stitch of the set of 3 round the back, and then 1 half treble into that same stitch. It all seems a little bit sort of pulled and blocky at that point, but don't worry, it works as you get further on. Then we're doing 1 half treble into that very back loop of the next 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to do 2 half trebles into the back of the next one, so you can see how this is going to sort of build up. And also you should, if you've got your counting right, that should be in the back of the middle of the 3 individual ones there. Then we're going to work half trebles into the back of the next 4 stitches. 3, 4, and then repeat again. We've got 2 half trebles into here, and 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to continue to work all the way around like that. So what you should be finding as well, if you're working it correctly, is that that row there is showing at the front and it's not hidden in any way. If you get it wrong, I'll just do one wrong to show you what would happen. So if you went wrong, you can see the difference in how it looks. So this is right, this bit's wrong. But the lovely thing with crochet is you can just pull a couple of stitches back, find your loop, and then start again. So I'll let you carry on with the sets of 4 half trebles individually and then 2 in 1 all the way around, and I'll join you when we get back to here. Okay. So this is how it should look when you have finished round 7. These are all half trebles going round the edge, and you should have 72 in total so that we can work round 8. So with your ammonite facing upright, okay, we're now going to put a square around it. So we're going to join yarn B into the back 2 loops of the stitch. So this is just slightly different because these are the half trebles, and before we've been working into just that stitch and leaving the front prominent. With this particular one, we're going to go into this section here, but also catch the other stitch, and it just gives you that little bit of extra strength to the next row. So you've 2 options here. You can either do that, which is what I'm going to do, or you can just use the back loop only, which is that one. Okay, so I think it's better if you use that one. Gives it that little bit more strength. So you join your white yarn in, and for this we are starting in a corner. So we're going to do 4 chains. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to do our first double treble. So that's double wrap in, round and back through, round through 2, round through 2, round and through 2. And as you can see, I've caught both stitches there. Then a single chain, and then another 2. In the double trebles. Okay, so that one is the first corner. Then we're going to do a double treble into the back loop of the next 2 stitches. So that's 1. 2. Then we're going to do 1 treble in the back loop of the next 2 stitches. So as you can see, the stitches are slowly getting shorter. Then a half treble into each of the next 2 stitches. Okay. And then a double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches, back loop as before. So in the, I'll just show you again, we're through both loops at the back. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 5 double crochet there, and you can see hopefully how we've just got 1 prominent line there, where on this one we've got like the pair coming up. Okay, next we're starting to work back out the other side, so we're going to do a half treble into each, just catch that tail, of the next 2 stitches. A normal UK treble into each of the next 2. Then double trebles into the next 2 stitches. So I'm sure you'll be getting the idea now of how this works. And then we're back at a corner now, so I'm going to do 2 double trebles, 1 chain and another 2 double trebles, all into the same stitch, and that's created our second corner. So we now start to go along the row again, so we need 2 double trebles, 2 trebles, 2 half trebles, and 5 UK double crochet. 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see how we've squared it off, and then we start 2 half trebles, 2 full trebles, and 2 double trebles, and then we're back to another corner. So I'll pause at that point and you can just obviously replay that if you need to, and we'll come all the way around and join here. You finish on the last 2 individual double trebles here before you slip stitch to join your square, and we'll come back in a moment and just show you the final item. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. I do know it's a white square and a white background, but hopefully it'll show up for you. So that's it. We've worked all the way around. We've got our nice 4 corners and we've slip stitched to join it, and on this one I've already sewn all the ends in. So there's a definite right and a wrong side to this. Make sure that you don't turn your work, and I would again advise that you block this, so pin it out on a nice firm towel and nice and wet, and then just leave it to dry naturally. And if you do that with all of them, it just neatens everything off and gives you an easier item to sew together later on. So see you in the next one. Bye.